Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to talk about trends in cycling that really don't matter that much, and I'm going to talk about some things that maybe should matter more. For example, the group ride sprint. I'm going to spend some time explaining that one. We're also going to talk about Aero Everything, super long rides, and fancy kit. And if you're a fan of this channel, you would probably be expecting me to insert disc brakes for road in here, but I'm not. I'm gonna save that one for another day. See, the cycling community as a whole has been experiencing a tremendous growth spurt. We have more people on bikes, more group rides. A lot of these group rides are getting bigger and bigger. We have more events and more people getting involved in cycling destination adventure type things than ever before. As an example, here in my South Florida cycling community, I had an opportunity this past weekend to participate in two different events, one on Saturday and one on Sunday, both well attended. And you know, the funny thing is that there were other events happening simultaneously. So we got to make sure that we take very good care of the growth that we're experiencing in cycling. Let's get into this by talking about the group ride sprint. Now, when it comes to the group ride sprint, I'm all for that. I'm all for giving it your all, pushing yourself, finishing strong, the whole 9 yards. In fact, most fast group rides will have some sort of imaginary line that everybody kind of knows where it is. You can't really see it, but you know that that's the end of the fast group ride. And those who participate in this sprint actually look forward to being able to raise their hands in victory, emulating pro cyclists as they cross the line of maybe the Champs-Élysées or something like that. But that's not what I'm talking about. Everybody knows that cycling is ultra competitive. After all, two cyclists on the same stretch of road is known as a race. I'm talking about the structured double pace line ride, where there's pacers, maybe 2 or 4 pacers for the entire ride, and you have about 60 cyclists that never stick their nose in the wind, who, when they approach the last quarter mile of the ride, they attack. They go crazy, they go ballistic, and it's a melee. And what happens is you have a mix of talent, ability, and experience, making for one of the sketchiest moments in cycling. Now, that's different than a turn-up zone or where you're pushing hard towards the end. And I think that kind of stuff is okay. But when I'm talking about sprinting, you know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a person wilding out and actually pushing themselves beyond their limits. That's what causes the issues. So on fast group rides where the cyclists are very experienced, it's a simulated race, and you know what you're doing, I understand that a sprint is going to take place in that kind of situation. But in a structured group ride, double pace line, or maybe a tempo ride, I understand a turn up and pushing towards the end, but an all-out sprint, no. Next, we've got to talk about Aero Everything. Man, we've got integrated cockpits. Yes, I agree, they look awesome. Aero wheels, aero frames, aero helmets, aero shades. And I think aero is good because we've got to be able to maximize the gains. After all, wind resistance is one of the biggest forces that we fight in cycling, aside from gravity and rolling resistance on the road. Many of the aero gains you pay for aren't being used because you don't sustain a high enough speed when you're riding solo or on the front to maximize them. You would need to be sustaining 23 to 25 miles per hour or 38 to 40 kph to optimize those aero gains, for example, from aero wheels. And like I said, and be either riding solo or on the front. But instead, focus maybe on getting your body more aero by working on your core strength to lower your upper body, because about 70% of all aerodynamic drag is coming from you, the person on the bike, not the bike. Another area perhaps to focus on is on drivetrain efficiency, which can yield surprising gains. Next, super long rides. I understand that it may be a challenge, a goal, or a milestone that a person may want to achieve, and I cheer and applaud that. But I'm talking about the super long rides that are super difficult to do, that it goes beyond the normal suffering of cycling where you're pushing yourself for fitness gains. I'm talking about the stuff that, like the recent Unbound event, where it was like not just, it's a long ride to begin with, but it was very challenging to the point where so many people said they did not have fun and they're not sure if they're going to do it again, which was like, wow. I've been in events where while I was on the bike and I was suffering because what I was doing was so difficult, after I completed it, I felt like, man, a strong sense of satisfaction to the point where I was like, I'm going to be back next year or at some other time. Cycling is to a certain degree about suffering, but I don't think it's about destroying ourselves, and I don't think it's about creating bad experiences or bad memories. I think quite the opposite. I think it's about building up yourself, challenging yourself, using your resources wisely. But I think it's also about building good and pleasant memories and experiences that in the future we'll be able to look on and say, man, that was awesome. I'm glad I did it. The next trend in cycling that we want to see go away real fast is that of fancy clothing. I don't think that you need the latest, greatest, most expensive kit to be able to, feel good about yourself as a cyclist. And don't get me wrong, I do like to take some pride in my appearance when I leave home, whether I'm on the bike or off the bike. But I think that what you're looking for is maybe something that fits you well, is functional, meaning like in the summer months, it'll at least offer moisture wicking capabilities. And you want to certainly make sure that your bib shorts and your pads are properly positioned for comfort on the bike. This whole recent trend with certain clothing manufacturers that own shops saying that people aren't welcome to the rides if they're not wearing their kit. I don't like that deal. I think that reeks of snobbery of the sport, and I think that one needs to go away really fast. So yeah, now I'm gonna go get out of these so that I can get this video wrapped up. Let's go. As always, I'd love to hear your thoughts on those subjects that I just covered. Now, as I get ready to transition into talking about things in cycling that should matter, I want to talk about two things. One of them is, if you're enjoying the content that we're putting out, you can help us out a lot by giving this video a like and subscribing to the channel. YouTube has recently done something really funky with the algorithm. I can no longer figure it out, but liking and subscribing and sharing helps us out a great deal. The second thing is, on my last video, I introduced the idea of a new steel frame or potentially titanium frame bike build that I was going to be getting involved in. I did get the bike with the characteristics that I was looking for, and hopefully by the time I produce the next video, I'll have the bike so that I can at least reveal it. I will say this much: it is steel and it's not the Cinelli Nemo TIG. Now let's talk about things in cycling that should matter a lot. The first one is our health, not just your fitness, your health. I recently really started looking after my health because I realized that over the years I had acquired some really bad habits. And the areas that I focused on were, number one, getting into the gym to make up for the reduction in bone density that I'm starting to experience as I go older. So I'm starting to do some resistance training in the gym and also some detox in the sauna. The second thing that I really started getting after was making sure that I was really on top of my rest and recovery. I already thought that I was doing a very good job of that, but my sleep score is always kind of like between bad and horrible. So I'm doing a much better job of that. The third thing that I really started getting after was my nutrition. I just went through a detox, a juice detox, to help to cleanse my system, help me to focus on my gut health. And after that, I made the decision to transition into eating healthy. I'm not going to go so far as to call myself a vegetarian or a vegan or anything like that, but I'm certainly incorporating a lot more grains, a lot more greens into my diet, and staying away from red meat, processed food, and anything that I can identify as having a lot of toxicity. My body is still going through this transition. It's really weird, but overall on the bike, I feel so much better. And I'm looking forward to the gains that I'm going to have going forward. Number two is having great ride experiences. Great ride experiences should matter all the time. And great ride experiences aren't just about Strava KOMs, setting a personal best, conquering some Everesting or something like that, or doing your first century. Yeah, those things can make up part of great ride experiences. But when I really think about great ride experiences, I think about two things. One is going someplace with my bike that I've never been before and actually enjoying being in a different riding environment. And the second thing is having an opportunity to ride and fellowship with people that I normally wouldn't, and just enjoy the company of people outdoors riding, whether I'm doing that locally or I'm doing that someplace else. One of the decisions that I recently made was to commit to at least once a month, call up some friends or some people randomly and say, hey, I'm riding from this spot at 7 a.m. and this is what the ride is going to be like. And so far I have done 2 of those and they've both been awesome. Everybody enjoyed it because it was a nice chill ride where we took our time, we got coffee, we got to know each other. The really fun part about it for me was that I connected people. I helped connect people who otherwise would not have ridden together. They may have been on the same group ride, but they didn't necessarily have a connection or a fellowship. And that just meant so much to me. And I want to do more of that because, you know, we miss connections with people all the time. And I think that that's really the valuable thing about our ride experiences with each other as cyclists. So yeah, I'm going to be doing more of those. The other thing is when I go out of town on big events, and I committed to doing this a couple years ago, is that I'm not going to be going off with the fast group to set a personal best or anything like that. My commitment is to kind of like hang out maybe with the B group, B minus group, sometimes the A minus group, and just enjoy the company of people, chit chatting with people, and just watch new people take in and enjoy the sport. I think that's a beautiful thing. And I think sometimes the hot pace of cycling and the single-minded focus of doing amazing things for ourselves, sometimes we miss out on some really important things of having great experiences with people. So yeah, those are 2 things that I think that are really, really important that I have recently made sure that I'm going to be a lot more intentional about. I'm sorry that I was a baby in the middle of it, but that's just how I feel. And I'm not editing that out. I'm going to leave that in there. So yeah, that's me. I do get emotional. All right, guys, that's it for today. I hope that you've enjoyed this video. And like I said, if you've enjoyed the content, please give it a like and subscribe. And for those of you who have been subscribing to the channel, supporting the channel, thank you. My South Florida crew who have been so encouraging to me about the videos, the channel, and also helping me out with footage and things like that when I can't get out there on a super fast rides to get certain type of footage. I appreciate you guys big time. As always, our aim here at the channel is to inform, instruct, inspire. Be blessed.